Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. From our previous video, we talked about the use of introduction to table, and we also talked about data sorting, data filtering, talked about VLOOKUP, how we can use VLOOKUP to find out an information from even a very large data set. And we also talked about how we can nest VLOOKUP with other functions. For instance, an if error to perform any function, or to be specific, to give Excel a specific command on an information we want to find on a very large data set. So in this video, we are going to be moving on to what we call index match. And index match is more like an advanced VLOOKUP. Like, okay, fine. If you say you know VLOOKUP, that is really cool. You are on your way to becoming a professional in the use of Excel, right? But even more so, knowing or having the knowledge of index match even makes you much more cooler, right? So, which means index match is very, very good. It's also another utility function in Excel. So, index match, when you use index match in conjunction, when you use index and match, like there are two functions together. There's index and then there's match. There's index and there's match. And index, the index function allows you to return a specified value within an array. And by array, we mean table in this sense. And also, when you are using match only, match returns the function. Match function returns the numerical position of a text. That is let's say, a cell's position, a cell's exact position within an array, that is within a table. Now, using both of them together, it allows you to build a more dynamic VLOOKUP. By using this methodology, you can return values not only to the right of your lookup value, but also to the left, to the above or below. Unlike VLOOKUP, that you can only look for a value vertically. Index match is much more dynamic. It gives you a wide range. It gives you a wide range of looking into every position in your data set. There's also something that we call X match. We are still going to look into that too. So how does index match works? There are some salient points. There are some points that needs to be noted on index match. Like, index will return a value in a data set when you know the row and the column numbers, right? When you are sure that you understand the row and the column numbers, you can use index. Index will return the value of that particular cell, Then while match returns a row or column number in a data set when you have a value. Match returns a row or column number in a data set when you have a value. And let's see the syntax for index. Now, index will return a value at the intersection of a specified row. And you know that by intersection, we mean cell. A cell is an intersection of a row and a column, and a point of intersection of a row and column, right? So making use of the index function, just like we've always done, if you want to make use of an index function, you start with an equals to, then you call on your index function, and then you fulfill all the parentheses. The first option under the parentheses is the array, which is the table, and then the row number that you are looking for, and optionally the column number too. So the array is containing the value you are looking for, position of the value within, and then what column that starts with it. The default is always 1. So the index function returns the value in the intersection of a specified row of an array. For instance, let's say we are looking for Kenneth, right? We are looking for the sales of Kenneth, and then we are making use of index. You know the position you know the position of Kenneth, right? You know the position of Kenneth, you know the column number to be column B, that is column 2, right? You know it is in column 2, and then it is on row 3. Row 3. It is on row 3, and then by using index will show you the product or the content of the cell. Now, making use of index is showing me that Kenneth's sales is $8,454. The index will find the intersection of the third row and second column. Using the index function, you say equals to index. This is the table array from A2 to B5, that is from cell A2, from cell A2 here, sorry, to cell B5, which is your entire table per se. And also your column, your row number, it is row 3. Kenneth is on row 3, row 1, row 2, row 3. And then your column number, we are looking for it on column number 2. Just like we use in our VLOOKUP, this is column number 2, this is column number 1. And then we see the end product as 8,454. In this case, cell B4 is that intersection within the range. Now, talking about match, as a matter of fact, let's go and see what we are talking about. Let's go back to our data sets and see what we are talking about. Now, let's look at this. This is a data set that has been sent to us by our client, right? It is an EBITDA, data set. It is an EBITDA data set. And what is EBITDA? EBITDA is a financial term that stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's a financial term that helps businesses it helps to evaluate the business core profitability, like that. It's I don't know, it's an alternative measure of the company's overall financial performance. Yeah, I think let me put it that way. I think that captures it more. But it's not as if we are going deeply into maybe that. I just want to like explain the context of the data set for us. So we have about 4 columns. We have 4 columns in the data set. We have the revenue data, we have the EBITDA data, then we have the EBITDA percentage, and then we have the countries, right? So first thing first, let's convert our data set into tables. So I'll select everything with Control A, Control T, and then I'll hit my enter. And then let me give it a customized, let me go and customize the name for EBITDA. So let's call it, let me name it EBITDA. You can remember, you can give it any name you want. And give it any name you want. It doesn't matter, right? So, and then we know all the column numbers. So this is column number 1. The revenue is column number 1. The EBITDA is the column number 2. EBITDA percentage, column number 3. While country is the column number 4, right? So it's very important to understand that. So let's go to our exercise and then let's work out some questions. Now, we have all these countries, right? We have Bove Island, Burkina Faso, Gabon, Guadeloupe, Kyrgyzstan, Liberia, Macedonia, Madagascar, and all other countries. We have Malawi, Moldova, Nepal, Netherlands, Antilles, Palau, Panama, and so on. Then you will see that you notice that there are some countries that comes twice, are repeated twice, but we cannot say they are duplicates, right? Because their cell contents are different. For instance, if you look at Macedonia here, right, on the 7th row, row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On the 7th row, it has a beta of 1%, that is 0.01, and then it has an actual EBITDA of 3.48, while the revenue is 348, right? 348. While on the, this is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. On the 12th row, EBITDA percentage is 35%, 0.35, while the actual EBITDA is 160.65, and then the revenue is 459. So we can't say it is we can't say it is a duplicate. We can't say it is a duplicate because it is not a duplicate, right? So let's get that very well. So let's go and solve the first problem here. Using index, what country is in the third row? Now, just looking at our data sets here, we know the country that is in the third row because the data set is small. And what if we are dealing with a very big data set and like an actually large data set, 200,000, 500,000 data set? We can make use of index to help us fetch and the data in a particular or in an actual row that we can remember, right? So we know it is South Africa, but how do we use index to bring in South Africa to our result cell? So we say equals to index, so equals to index, and then we select, and then the cell is asking you for some options for you to fulfill the parentheses. What is the array? Don't forget, we just converted our data set to table, and then we name the table EBITDA. So I'll call on EBITDA, I'll select EBITDA, comma. Now, what is my row number? Remember, the row number for country under my data set is row number 3. So I'm going to select row number 3. For country, from the question, like I said, it is very, very important to understand the question and interpret it to yourself. It's going to help you a lot to know what you need to do. So from the question has actually revealed the third row, revealed the row number itself. So the question is not always going to come like this. But if you understand the question, you will know the context, and then you will know what you need to do, right? So the row number is row number 3, even according to the question, right? So say comma. Now the column number. What is the column number of country? The column number of country on my data set is column number 4. You know column number 4. The first column is the column number 1 is revenue. Column number 2 is EBITDA. Column number 3 is EBITDA percentage, and then column number 4 is country. So I'm done with my parentheses, and then I'll close my bracket and hit enter. And then you can see that on the third row of the country, I have South Africa, and then just like it is here, right? So that is how to use index to fetch the data. Remember, index works if you know the row number and the column number, but you are not sure of the cell content. You are not sure of the cell content. So very quickly, I want us to think about this before we do it together. I want you to do this on your own before we do it together. Take a 5-minute pause and then attempt it before you now continue this video. So the cell problem number 1B says, what is the revenue in the 5th row? What is the revenue in the 5th row? Just like we did the other one, they'll say equals to, but with a little bit dynamics, yeah? So let me introduce us to something new. So we'll say index. Now, the array, the table is EBITDA. Now, there are different kind of brackets in Excel, right? There are different kind of brackets in Excel. If I open a bracket like this kind of bracket is a functions bracket, right? It's a functions bracket. That is, our normal bracket is a function bracket. While this particular bracket here is a list bracket, listing, L-I-S-T-I-N. When you are making a list of something, is a listing bracket. And then we also have our square bracket. A square bracket helps you to look into a particular row, into a particular column of a table on your data set, or the table or your data set, right? You can be specific on as to the selection of a particular column header that you want to use in your data set. So by pressing this square bracket, I have the opportunity of being specifying, going more specific, or giving more specific command to Excel that okay, information that I am actually looking for is actually under the revenue table. I'm actually looking under the revenue column. I'm actually looking for something in the revenue column. That is why I'm using my square bracket. We are still going to have different contexts where we are going to be using this square bracket a lot. I just want us to get ourselves acquainted to it. So you press the square bracket and then I choose my revenue because I am looking for something in the fifth row of revenue. So I'm going to select my revenue, then I'm going to close my square bracket. So I'm done with my table specification, that is my array specification. Now, what is our row number? According to the question, it is row number 5. Now, this time around, I don't need column number. I don't need column number because I am actually looking for the particular information inside that column. That is why my looking inside my revenue column as stand in gap for me to specify for my specification of my column number, right? So if I hit enter now, then you see that I have 387 as the revenue for the fifth row on my data set, and then I can just check. This is a 387 and I'm talking about Syrian Arab Republic. So this is how to use index, just like it sounds. Index is values. Index is values, and to use index, you are going to need using index. The logic is using when you are using index, you have to use text to find a value, or you have to use a value to find a text, right? So that is the concept, that is the idea. So I'll see you in the next video when we are going to be talking about match. Thank you very much. Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Let's continue from where we stopped. So now let's talk about match. Match. Now match searches through a range of specific value to return and returns the relative position of that particular value. Match helps you to search through the range, that is a range, a particular range or a table for a specified value and returns the relative position. And also the parenthesis, the syntax for match is equals to match. Then the lookup value that you are looking at is what you are actually looking for. The value you're actually looking for. Then the lookup array, which is the table, and then the kind of match. Remember the match type that we used in our VLOOKUP. So we are going to be coming to it again in our match. So, and then breaking down this particular syntax, that is the lookup value is what text you are looking for, the array in which you are looking to like locate your text, that is the table, and then the match type. We have different match type in under match, I mean. So if you have -1, it means greater than the closest value. Then the 0 is the exact match, and 1 is less than the closest value. If omitted, then equals 0. So let's in most cases it is always 0 that we make use of in match, and then you will see why when we practicalize this. So let's go to our match, and then let's see how our match works. So the question is, problem 2 says, what row is Macedonia on? Now, don't forget we have 2 Macedonias, right? So the goal is for you to locate one of the 2 Macedonias. We have plenty, even if you have a large data set, all we need is just for you to show at least 1 Macedonia, right? Just for you to show 1 Macedonia, right? So let's say, let's practicalize J equals to match. Sorry, make array match. Now, what is our lookup value? Our lookup value is Macedonia, right? Macedonia. That is our C18, or you can actually type it too. We are going to use these two contexts. So C18, comma. Then what is our lookup array? Our lookup array is a bit that. Now, just like we did for our index, we are going to do the same thing for our match. We want to be specific as to which particular table or which particular column we are going to be looking into in our data set. And the column is country. The column is country, so I'm going to select country by opening a square bracket. Excel gives me the permission to look into a particular or specific column header. So I'm going to select country, then I'm going to close my square bracket, comma, and then what kind of match do I want? I want exact match. That is a match with the exact name of Macedonia, exact spelling. So I'm going to select 0. And then I'm going to close my bracket and then I'll hit enter. And then you can see that I have Macedonia on row number 7. Some people might do it and get their own Macedonia to be on row number, I think that's number 12. Any one of the two. All you need is just to make sure you get Macedonia. So apart from using the cell name, that is cell name, let's see if we press Macedonia, if we type Macedonia, if we are going to get the same thing. So I'll open my quotation mark and then I'll type Macedonia, then I'll close. Then I'll hit enter. Then you can see that it still works the same way. But most time it's better to use your cell reference. It is better to use your cell references. So I'm going to undo this. So that's going to take me back to my cell reference, or I can just do it again. I'll say equals to match. The lookup value is C18, comma. My table, my array is a bit down. And then I'm looking into the country. I'll close my square bracket and then my match type is 0. And then I'll close my bracket again. Voila. So let's move quickly to question problem 2, problem 2b, And then before we do this problem 2b together, I want you to pause this video and then make an attempt on it yourself. This one is a little bit technical. I want to see whether you are going to understand how to solve this particular problem. Right now, this particular problem is a little bit different from what we just did in terms of match. Now, so the question said, which column is a bit in? That is the column number. What is the column number of a bit on this particular data set? That is, what is the column number of a bit itself on this particular data set? You see that the ones that we've been doing before, we've been making reference to cells. We've been looking for cells. That is the position of a cell, right? So, but this time around, we are going to be looking for an header. Because it's an header, right? So we are going to just use match to also find this. To say equals to match. What's to match? Then what is our sorry, why is I think I've gotten used to this make array too much. Match. Now the lookup value is a bit that. Don't forget a bit that, right? The lookup array is my table, so a bit that table. Now I'll open my square bracket as usual. Now, instead of me to now go and select a beta from here, right? Instead of it, because this is the header, this is the column itself. But a beta is not a cell. A beta is not a cell, it's an header. So instead of me to select this header, that is, by selecting this header, that means I want to look for something inside this particular column, right? But instead of me to select that, because I know that a beta is a column header itself, instead of being a cell inside a column, so I'm going to select headers. So I'll select headers, close brackets. comma, and then my exact match type will be 0, then close bracket, and then voila. Then you can see that the position of my EBITDA column is on column number 2, which I have here, right? Very simple. Simple and straightforward. All it takes is practice, practice, and constant practice. Practice, practice, and more constant, practice. So thank you very much. I'm going to see you in the next video. Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Let's continue from where we stopped. So we've used index, we've used match. Now, let's say we want to use the both of them together, right? We want to use the both of them together. That is the index match itself. So let's go back to our data set. Go back to our data set. Now, problem 3. Now, we want to make use of both index and match together. So the first question, this question is in 3 parts. We need to first of all fetch our match, that is the row. We need to fetch our match. Then we are now going to use whatever we get from our match to answer our row, our revenue, and also use the combination of both index and match to find out this revenue, right? This is match. We are going to be using our match here, we use our index here, and then we use both of them together. And then you will notice that match most of the time uses text. Match uses text to find a value. Match uses text to find the position of a value, while index uses value to find the position of a text. Right? Sometimes. So let's say, what is our match here? Just like we did our match in the example above, is the same way we are going to be using our match again here. So I'm going to say equals to match. Then what is my lookup value? My lookup value is this country here, to value. Yeah, so I'm going to select my to value, right? A36, comma. And then what is my lookup array? Don't forget it's a bit star. And then I'm going to be looking inside a specific table and inside a specific column header. Then the column that I am looking for is to value is a country, right? So I'm going to select country, close bracket, comma, and then exact match. Then voila. And then I can see that my to value is on row number 13. So let's confirm. This is row number 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, right? Specific, exact. So fantastic. So now we have gotten our match, that is our row number now. So let's go and use this row number to find out the revenue by using index. So I'm going to say equals to index, and then what is my array? A bit star. And then my what am I looking for? I'm looking for the revenue, right? So I'm going to look directly inside the revenue column by using my square bracket. Then I'll close my square bracket. Now my row number, what is my row number? The row number that I just got now is 13. So I'm going to say 13. Then I'll close my bracket. Close my bracket and hit enter. And you can see that it is coming out as a percentage. You know, you are not looking for percentage, you are looking for currency, and it's not supposed to be formatted as percentage, it's supposed to be formatted as currency. So you can as well just go and format it as currency, and then decrease the decimals. And also you can just customize your currency to be in dollars. So which means on row 13, that is country, to value as a country has $1,269. Let's confirm, yeah, has a revenue of $1,269. So now let's use the combination of both index and match to find out the revenue again. Normally we know the revenue is 1,265, but let's see how making use of index and match will help us bring this information. We are nesting index and match together. So we are nesting both index and match together. It's very simple. So this time around, it is going to be the formula is going to come in such a way that all your formula here in index coupled with all your formula here in revenue, right? So if you can remember how you got your match, then you can remember how you got your index, then just bring both of them together. Just combine both of them. That is what index match does. It's combination of both index and match. So I'm going to say equals to index first. So index, and remember my table array is my EBITDA table, my EBITDA, and then my I'm looking inside the revenue table. So the revenue column, select on my revenue column. Now, instead of me to now specify my row number so I'm going to bring in my match to do that for me, because it is match that we use in getting our row number here. So I'm going to bring in my match. So what is my lookup value? Our lookup value, just like we did it, is to value here. Is this to value here? And then the lookup array is the EBITDA. And then we are going to be looking inside a particular column, right? So sorry, we are going to be looking inside a particular column called the country column, because to value is a country, just like we did for our match. Yeah, so close my bracket, and then my match type is the exact match type, and then we opened two brackets because we are using two functions. We are nesting two functions together. So whenever you are seeing a red column, a red bracket here, Excel is telling you that you have only closed one particular bracket. You still need to close another one. If your last bracket has not turned black, it means you are still holding Excel a column or a bracket that needs to be closed. So until your column turns black, it means you are yet to close all the columns you've opened. So I'll hit my second column and then my second bracket, and then you see that I now have a black bracket. So I will hit enter, and then you see we have the same revenue as what we have here. All we need to do is just to apply our currency formatting, and then we'll change it to, you can change the currency to anything you want. But for consistency, I'm going to choose the dollar currency. So this is how to use my index and match. This is how to use both my index and my match together. So now let's move to this problem 3B. I want you to take this problem 3B as a personal exercise. You can pause the video, attempt them, and then try and use them to see whether you understand it, right? So you can, after you've made an attempt on your own, you can now see whether you are right. So let's solve this particular one, just like we did what we have up here. It's the same way we are going to do this particular question 3B. So I'm going to say equals to, remember we are dealing with match first. So I'm going to say equals to match. The lookup value is Gabon. Comma, and then my lookup array, as usual, a bit star. And then remember, Gabon is a country, right? So I'm going to open a bracket, square bracket, and then select on country, close my square bracket, and then I want the exact match, and then close my bracket, and then hit enter. And you can see that Gabon is on the fourth row of my country. Let's see if we autofill, if Excel is good. Yeah, and Excel can recognize, just because we use cell referencing, so Excel can recognize the position, the match number, the row number of the rest of the countries, the Palau, Liberia, Yemen, Nepal, and Macedonia. Now, let's make use of our index here. Let's make use of our index to also find out the same, EBITDA for this country. So I'm going to say equals to index. My array is my EBITDA, and then Am I looking inside a particular column? Yes, I am looking inside the EBITDA column because the question said the EBITDA. We're not dealing with revenue now, we are dealing with the EBITDA itself. So I'm going to select on my EBITDA, and then I'll close my square bracket. Now, what is my row number? My row number is 4. 4 here. What I've got here, my row number is 4. So I'm going to select it 4. Then I'll close my bracket, and then I'll hit enter. Then you can see that I have 129. So for confirmation, let's say row 4. This is row 4, Gabon, and then Gabon has the EBITDA of 128.877. Excel has like rounded up this 8.77 as 1. That is why it is making it one. The approximation is 129. That is why we have 129 here. That is why we have 129 here. Then let's see if I autofill, if Excel is going to obey the command. Yes, Excel understands, and then you can see that my in Liberia has a negative EBITDA. That is why I am having it into bracket $60. Like I said, if you have anything inside a bracket like this, if you have any value inside a bracket like this, it is the same thing as, you see, having minus. It is a negative, right? So let's put that in mind. So that is why I'm having minus 60. So for confirmation, let's go and see. And then you can see that Liberia is on minus 60. It's on minus 60 in terms of the EBITDA. So, and then you can see Yemen. Yemen is 50. So let's now make use of our index match, just like we did the one up there. And then we are still going to be getting the same value, but we want to combine both our index and our match together to get the EBITDA for this particular question again. So I'm going to say equals to index, and then my array is my EBITDA. My array is EBITDA, and then looking inside my EBITDA column, inside my data column. So instead of me to specify my row number, I'm going to call on my match to come in match. Then my lookup value is still Gabon A46, then comma, and I'm looking for the country. So EBITDA again. Then Gabon is a country, just like we did our match. I'll close my bracket, and I want it as exact match. Close my bracket, and then enter. Then you see I have the exact match of what I have in my EBITDA here. So this is how to make use of a EBITDA index match. And remember, practice is key. At least constant practice is key. To practice this, you are going to be a master of it. But if you leave it alone, it is going to leave you too, right? You can find further exercises to practice your index match on, right? And find further exercises to practice your index match on. So thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video. Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be talking about logical functions. Now, logical function is the advanced Excel, right? So logical functions is, we have different types of logical functions, and these functions are some of the things that you are used to already, and also they also serve as some type of advanced, like advanced mathematical functions in Excel, right? Sound as the advanced mathematical function in Excel. So what are logical functions? We have different logical functions. The first one we are going to be talking about is the COUNTIF function, the COUNTIF function. Now, there is COUNTIF, and then there is COUNTIFs. COUNTIF, and COUNTIFs. Just like we discussed in our basic Excel functions and commands in our introductory videos to this Excel course, we have count, we have COUNTIF, then we have COUNTIFs. Count will count a single, um, a single, it will make a single approximation of counting, just like it sound count. While count if would add a little bit of dynamic into your into your table or into your formula specification. While count ifs will give you the opportunity to count to perform multiple criteria, to add multiple criteria and ranges. Don't worry, we are going to be dealing with a lot of this for logical functions, and we have a lot of questions prepared for them. So very quickly, let's go to our um, workbook. Then we can see COUNTIF. Before we go to our workbook, let's talk about COUNTIF a little bit. So when you are using the COUNTIF function, you say equals to COUNTIF, and then you are going to be entering some parentheses. So the first range you are seeing is the first range you want to evaluate. Then the criteria is criteria one is the first criteria you have to evaluate. And the reason why I use COUNTIFs as a context is because if you remove the S here, there will not be range one criteria one. You will only have just range criteria, and that is all. But because if you want to be dealing with multiple criteria and multiple ranges, then you can use your COUNTIFs and then it does the job. Now, COUNTIFs can do the job of COUNTIF, but COUNTIF cannot do the job of COUNTIFs. You know, COUNTIF only count for a single range, for one range. All COUNTIFs will count for multiple ranges. So that is why COUNTIFs can do the job of COUNTIF, but COUNTIF cannot do the job of COUNTIFs, right? So let's go to our data set and then let's see how this works. Now, before we go into the questions proper, let's talk about our data set. So our client has sent us this particular data set. This is the data set that we've been using before. So it is something we are used to. So the first thing you need to do is to get yourself acquainted to the data set, know the content of your data set. As a good data analyst, that is just the best way to go, and then the best mode to employ. Get used to your data set, know everything that is going on inside it before you proceed to your task. So very quickly, I want you to take like 5 minutes to understand what is going on in this data set. Take like 5 minutes, check it out, check out every nooks and cranny, every cell of this data set, right? So check it, like know what the data set is all about, know every cell, every column, and see what is going on in every one of the column. Then you can continue by playing this video to be sure of yourself, right? So the first thing we are going to do now, after we are done studying our data set, we know our data set has different columns. That's the distributor ID column, the distributor name that contains the name of the distributors, the countries that this distributor came from, my product, my product code, and then the product itself, that is the product names, the sales channel, that is the channel that these distributors made their sales, then the dates that each distributor made their sales, the months, the quantity they sold, the unit price, and the revenue, right? And the revenue it is the same data set we've been using from our named ranges. So now, seeing this particular data set, right? Seeing this particular data set, we can assume that this data set is not clean. So we can just, perform some function of formatting on it. Though the data set looks clean enough, right? Looks clean enough. So all I have to do, all we are going to do, is just like we did in our VLOOKUP, is the same application we are going to apply here. We can break down our date sold column, can break it down to day, month, and year, right? You can break it down to day, month, and year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a column here, and then I'm going to insert 3 new columns to compensate for my date, month, and year. So, and then one more, insert. So my first column here will be day, second column will be month, third column will be year. And then I hope we remember how we made this extraction using the text function. So I'm going to say equals to text, and then my value is from my H, and then my format is open quotation D, then close quotation, close bracket, and hit enter. No, there are 4 days. And then I can just autofill. Now, I ought to convert my data set to table before I do this, but I like to do it this way. So you can do yours, you can convert your data set to table first before you proceed, right? It doesn't matter. So I'm going to say equals to text again. The value is still the same value here, comma. Then the format will be M, then close my bracket. Then I can autofill. And the last one will be equals to text. Same. And then Y. And then you can see I have successfully extracted my or splitted my date column data set. And then, yeah, I think the data set is pretty good now in terms of processing. But don't let us assume that the data set is clean by default. You need to check. You need to check. And we have checked, see that the data set is good, and we can proceed to use it for analysis. So very quickly, let's go to our COUNTIFs. So this workbook has been prepared in such a way that each sheet has contained, I've customized it in such a way that it's going to be for each logical function we are going to be dealing with in this topic. So the first problem here, the first problem we are going to be solving here, or even before we do that, we need to convert our data set to table. Sorry, forgot. So I will just select everything, Control A, and then I'll Control T the data set, and then I will hit enter. And then I can give it a customized name. Let's for consistency sake, let's say data set, right? Then you hit enter. So now, so I can go to my workbook. Then now let's solve some problems. I am eager to do that. Now I have also prepared this data set in such a way that if you make an attempt on this, if you want to check whether you are correct or not, right, you can just click on this button of show answers. But it is not encouraged. I'm not going to encourage you to do that before you solve the problem, right? You are not going to help yourself. I just put it there just in case you need like some clarification or confirmation. So let's solve some problems. Now, the first problem 1A now. Remember, everything we want to do here is we want to make use of COUNTIF or COUNTIFs. So the first problem is find the number of sales of each of the following products. And you know that all this particular table here has been extracted from our main data set here. Our main data set, right? So find the number of sales for each of the following products. Now, the first product we are going to be finding is the Pure Soft detergent 100 ml. Pure Soft detergent 100 ml. So what we are going to do is in such a way that we'll do one, and then the moment we hit our enter, Excel will do the rest for us automatically, because you can see that this data set, this mini data set here has been converted to a table. So will not be able to bother about like double clicking on our field handle. All we need to do is just to do one correctly, and then Excel will take care of the rest for us. So we say equals to. Now look at this question very well. Depending on the number of criteria you have, that is what is going to decide whether you need to use count if or count ifs, right? And don't forget that I've said count ifs can do the job of count if, but count if cannot do the job of count ifs. So for this first question, let's make use of count if. We are going to make use of both actually to see whether they are going to work. So the first one we are going to use is count if. So I'm going to type count if. So you can see that we have count if and count if. So I'm going to select on count if. Now you can see that I have only a single range, just a range and a criteria, and which can pretty much answer this particular question here. So my first range, my range is my table. My range is my table. In index match, it is called array, but here it is called range. So I'm going to say data set. Now, don't forget in our index match, we use our square bracket to look into a particular column. We are still going to make use of that idea here. As a matter of fact, we are going to use it a lot. So now we are looking for sales, right? And then we are looking for the sales of the number of times these products were sold, right? So for the range now, we are looking, these are products. These are products. So I'm just going to type on products for me to use the product column, right? Then I'll close my product, I'll close my square bracket. Now the criteria is what you are looking for. What you are looking for. And what I am looking for is pure soft 100 ml. I want to know the number of times this product was sold. And then you can see that it's coming out as products. It's because this place here, this mini data set has been converted to table, right? If you also say B9, it's still going to give you the same thing too. So because this is B9, you see that Excel will also select it as B9. Sorry. So B9. And then you can see that Excel has selected this. And then you can close your bracket and you can hit enter. Then you can see that this pure soap detergent 100 ml was sold 11 times. Was sold 11 times. For confirmation, let's go back to our data set and then let's come to products and then pure soap detergent 100 ml. Let's unselect everything and then let's select on just pure soap 100 ml. And then you can see how many times you can count 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You can see the accuracy there. So that is how to make use of count if to solve this particular problem. Now let's see if we can use count ifs. Let me delete and then use count ifs. So say equals to count ifs. Count ifs. Now you can see that instead of having just ordinary range, we have criteria range 1, right? So what is our criteria range? It's the same process that we followed for count ifs too. There's going to be data set and inside product. And then we are looking for pure soap detergent 100 ml here. And then I'll close my bracket, I'll hit enter. And see that count ifs can do the job of count if, right? So when we get to count ifs, we are going to see if count if can answer for count ifs. So let's proceed to the next question. Count the number of sales for which revenue meets the following criteria. Now it gets a little bit dynamic, right? Gets a little bit more dynamic. Now the question is saying that we should count the number of sales that this revenue meets the following criteria. That is greater than $1,000, the number of sales that is greater than $1,000, the number of sales that is less than $1,000, the number of sales that is exactly equals to $1,000, then the number of sales that is not up to $1,000. It is not greater than 1,000, right? That is not equals to 1,000 per se. So we say equals to, as usual, our COUNTIF. Now our range is still the same thing, data set. Inside data set, we are looking for revenue this time around, revenue, because revenue is our range. Now the criteria is this greater than 100, greater than 1,000, right? Greater than 1,000. Now we cannot select this particular cell because 1,000 is not standing alone in this cell. We still have the word greater and than. So instead, we'll just press our greater than 1,000. And just like I said, except you are writing ordinary values in Excel, anything that is not ordinary value, that is either in text or the combination of values and symbols, you have to put it in quotation mark, right? That is why I'm putting this in quotation mark, and then I'm doing for greater than 1,000, and then I'm going to close my bracket, and then I'm going to hit enter, and then you can see that I have products that are, I have 27 sales that are greater than 1,000. And for confirmation, you can go back to our data set here, and then you come to sales. Come to revenue, come to revenue, we can filter. You can filter by number filter that is greater than, and then it's greater than 1,000. 1,000. Then click, and then if we count this, it should be up to 27. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. You can see that we have 27 products, 27 times that a product has a revenue of that is greater than 1,000. And then you can also see it here under our status bar here, 27 records. Yeah, 27. So just for confirmation purpose, so let's go back to our workbook, and then let's perform the same function for our less than now. The same thing, same process. The only thing that's going to change is just our symbol here. This is our greater than symbol, and then let's go and make use of our less than symbol. So it's going to be equals to data set. You can copy the formula. You can copy the formula, but I will just prefer to explain it very well. COUNTIF, and then the criteria, same thing, data set, and then we are still looking inside our revenue. Then I'll close my bracket, and then open quotation, less than 1,000, close quotation, close bracket, and hit enter. You can see that we have less than in 80 times, right? So, and then for equals to, I'll say equals to count if, and then the range should be data set. Inside my data set again, revenue, and then this time around we want it to be exactly equals to 1,000. Sorry, 1,000, and then you hit enter. Then you can see that there is no product that is exactly 1,000. And then for confirmation purpose, let's go back to our data set, come to our revenue, and then come to number filters, and then let's say equals 1,000. And then hit enter, and then you see that we don't have any record at all, just 0 records. So which actually validates what we got here. Now let's deal with does not equals to. So say equals to count if the range as usual data sets revenue, and then the criteria is sorry, I'm not close my square bracket. The criteria is not equals to. Now since there is no symbol for not equals to in Excel, we are going to use both the combination of greater than and equals to. They also serve the purpose of not equals to, right? So not equals to 1,000, close my quotation and close my bracket and hit enter, and then you can see that we have 107 that is not equals to um that is not equals to 1000, that is not equals to 1000. So this is how to solve, to use, make use of our count if to solve a problem. Now for let's move to problem 1b. Let's move to problem 1b. Same method I've been applying since. So this time around, let's let's just keep using our COUNTIF. I wanted us to use COUNTIF before, but we still have one more worksheet, I mean, that contains COUNTIF. So let's say equals to COUNTIF. Then remember, please and please and please study your client's request. That is, study the question very well before you proceed to answer it, right? So the question in problem 1b says, count the number of sales occurring in each of the following sales channel. That is the online, the direct, and also the retail, right? So say equals to COUNTIF, and then the range is still my data set. Now, this time around, I am looking for the data set. I'm looking for the sales channel. So I'm going to open my square bracket and sales channel. I'll select my sales channel. Now, what is the criteria and sell? So it is online. So close my bracket, hit enter. And then you can see that we have 52 products that were sold online. So for confirmation purpose, let's go back to our data set. Then let's come to our sales channel, and then select, let's deal with online first, online. And you can see we have 52 of 107 records, right? So now let's clear back our filter. And then for the second part of the question 2b, problem 1b, count the number of sales with quantities less than 100, greater than 100, equals to 100, and does not equals to 100. It's just the same thing as or as how we did the previous question. It has to do with greater than 1000, less than 1000 in terms of revenue. Same way too, nothing different really. So this time around, we should count the number of quantities. Remember, number of quantities. Sometimes your questions will reveal the column you need to use in answering a question. So that is why it is very, very important for you to make sure you read your questions very, very well before you proceed, or get your client's request understood to yourself, interpret it to yourself before you proceed to performing what your client asks you to do. So this time around, I'm going to say equals to COUNTIF. COUNTIF. Now the range, still the same data set. And then this time around, we are looking inside what? Quantities. Quantity. And then what is our criteria? My first criteria is greater than 100, 100, close my bracket, and close my quotation and close my bracket and hit enter. So we have 57, right? We have 57. So the next one equals to count if the range data set still quantities, and then the criteria is less than 100, close my brackets and see 49. Then for the equals to 100, you say equals to COUNTIF again, COUNTIF data set, open bracket, still quantity, close square bracket, quotation equals 100, close quotation, close bracket, and hit enter. So we have one product is actually sold in terms of quantity. So let's just confirm, for confirmation purpose, let's come to our quantity and then number filters, and then click on equals. Then we can say 100. 100, and then you can see that we only have just one and that product is data fast stain remover, 100 ml. So let me clear the filter. Then let's proceed. Let's continue to our question. So the last one said does not equals to 100. So it's still the same process. Count if data set. Inside my data set, I'm using my quantity column. Remember, square brackets gives you access to choose a particular column, to look into a particular column in your data set, right? So then the criteria for this is does not equals to, that is greater than less than 100. And then you close your brackets and hit enter. So which means we have 106 does not equals to does not equals to in terms of the quantities that was sold for this sales. And by this is if you by does not equals to means that is a combination of greater than 100 and less than 100. So if you add both of them together, they have to give you 106, right? So that is how to make use of count if, right? So thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video. Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Now, let's continue from where we stopped. Let's go to section 2 of our count ifs. Now, this time around, I said count ifs works with when you have multiple criteria, right? When you have multiple criteria, then you have to use count ifs. And I said count ifs can do the job of count if, but count if cannot do the job of count ifs, right? So let's proceed to our problem 2a. How many sales of super soft bulk 2 liters were made? That's the first criteria. Through the following sales channels, which is the second criteria, which means we have multiple criteria this time around. We have the online, the direct, and then the retail. The first condition is super soft bulk 2 liters. Second condition is the sales channel. And then I have prepared, I have prepared this particular cell to like put in what I am looking for, my criteria, and first criteria, right? You can decide to do it the same way, or you can decide to type yours too. But me, I put this here so that I'll be able to make reference to this particular product here. So all I'm going to say equals to count ifs. This time around, we are going to be using count ifs because count if cannot solve this problem for us because we have multiple criteria. So I'll say count ifs. Now, Excel is asking me what is your first criteria range 1? That is, what is your first criteria range 1? My first criteria range 1 is my product, right? Because the question starts with product. I'm going to say count. Sorry. My criteria range is my data set as usual. And then I'm looking for it inside a product because super soft bulk is a product. So product. Then I'm going to select product, close my brackets. Now, my first criteria, this first parenthesis is the range at which I want to find this criteria from. So my first criteria is this, my super soft bulk 2 liters here. So I'm going to select it and then I'm going to reference it absolutely because you know there is nothing surrounding it. There is nothing at the side, there is nothing up, nothing at the side, and then nothing downward too. And that is why I'm referencing it absolutely. So now I am done with my first criteria and then my first criteria range. So my second criteria range, still my data set, and then I'll open my brackets. This time around, I am looking for sales channel. So sales channel, comma, and then my actual criteria is all these criteria here, all these sales channels. So I'm going to select sales channel, and I'm going to close brackets, and then I'll hit enter. You can see that super soft bulk 2 liters was sold twice, 4 times in online, sold twice directly, and then sold 5 times in retail. For confirmation, let's go back to our data set and then let's select this particular column and then super soft bulk 1 liter, right? Select it And then let's deal with the sales channel. The first sales channel is online. Let's see how many times it was sold online. So I'll select online. Then you can see that it was sold 4 times. 5 times. 3, 4, 5. Right? It was sold 5 times. Oh, sorry, 2 liters. 2 liters. Super soft box 2 liters. Then you can see 4 times. Right? Just for confirmation purpose. So that is how to use count ifs to answer this particular question. So let's move on to the second one. Now, the second one says, how many sales of more than 100 units? The moment you hear more than 100 units, you should know we are talking about quantity. Quantity. So, how many sales of more than 100 units of super softbox 2 liters were made through the following sales channel? So, I'm going to say equals to count ifs. Count ifs. My first criteria range is my data set. And then the first thing that I'm looking into, that I'm looking for is product also. So I'm going to say products. Now the criteria itself is, I can either go and make reference to this particular cell here. I can just type it. So let me just type it this time around. But if you are typing, you have to make sure you match it word for word. Your spelling has to be accurate. So I'm going to open a quotation and say super soft bulk 2 liters. I'm sorry, dash 2, and then close my brackets. That's my first criteria. I'm sorry, liters. I still have liters. Liters. Close my bracket. I think typing is going to make your formula very long, but if you understand it, you won't mind, right? So that's my first criteria, my first range and the criteria. That's my first range and criteria. So my second criteria now is still my data set. Sorry, I think I missed. I'm supposed to use 2 quotation, right? So now you can see that Excel has moved to the second criteria for me. And my second criteria is still data set. Now, what am I looking into? I am looking into sales channel. You can do your arrangement anyhow you want it. You can decide to bring your product to be the last, right? You can decide to bring your quantity to be the first. So this time around, let me do sales channel, and then my first sales channel that's going to be my criteria is online here, which is on B22. B22. You can also select, but let me just type the cell name, B22. Now, for the third criteria, now data set again, open quotation, open brackets. This time around, quantity. So quantity, comma, and then the criteria is what? Less greater than 100. So greater than 100, and then close my bracket, and then I'll hit enter, and then you can see that for my sales channel, this is about three conditions, like 3 conditions. Here we made use of 2 conditions. This time around, we make use of 3 conditions. Excuse me. So you can see that for confirmation purpose, let's go and filter again. So let's deal with super soft bulk 2 liters. On select super soft for bulk 2 liters. Okay. Now the second condition is sales channel. First sales channel is online. So online, select online. And then the third condition is greater than 100. So let's come to the quantity column, and then number filters greater than 100. Is it okay? And then you can see you have 3, 208, 157, and 142. Right? So that is that for confirmation. So let me clear my filters, and then clear for quantity. Now let's proceed. Let's continue. Now to the third part of my question, the last question. Now, how many distributors sold the following product with respective quantity in the table below? Now, this one is a little bit dynamic, yeah, a little bit dynamic, but still your count if, still your count ifs. So, say equals to count ifs. Remember, understand the question. Remember, understand the question. Now, first criteria range, like I said, you can select it, you can do your arrangement anyhow you want it, right? So I'm going to be starting with my product. So I'm going to say data sets, which is my criteria range, data sets. Inside data set, I'm looking for products. I'll select product. Then this product is this my first product here, right? Comma. I'm done with my criteria range 1. So my criteria range 2 is data set. Again, I'm looking for it inside quantity. Quantity. Now, my first quantity here is greater than or equals to 50. Greater than or equals to 50. So I'm going to select my quantity here, right? Or I can just type cell C33. So instead of me to select, let me just type cell C33, C33. Then you see that Excel has selected it for me with this red marker. Then the third range now, third criteria range is still data set. And then this time around, I am looking for distributors, right? The distributor. I can use the distributor name and I can also use distributor ID. But because distributor ID, because I am counting, and distributor ID is in values, is formatted as values, that contains values. So I'm going to be using distributor ID. So you can use distributor name too. If it works, fine. But let me just stick to distributor ID, comma. Now, what is the condition? The first condition is the quantity sold. I mean, the criteria is the quantity sold. So I'm going to say quantity sold. I mean, sorry, distributor ID that is greater than 150. Greater than 150. So set condition greater than 150. Then hit enter. Now, you'll be asking that, why did I use 150? Now, out of all of these quantity sold conditions that were given to us, 150 is the highest, right? So if I'm saying greater than 150, it means I am using 150 as the target. I didn't say equals to, if I say equals to greater than or equals to 150, that means I have gone, I have used the same condition that I have in my quantity sold there, but no, I just want to count the number of distributors that meet all these quantity sold targets, right? So that is why I have 8 distributors sold products, sold pure soft detergent 100 ml at least 50 or more times, right? 50 or more in terms of the quantity they sold. And then I have 7 that sold pure soft detergent 200 ml. I have that sold pure soft detergent 100 ml at least 100 and above, right? So this is how to make use of our count ifs logical function. So thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.